Hey, what's up? I'm Mike Squires, and this is Couch Riffs podcast, episode number 146. My guests, Ehab and Justin from South of Eden, a very promising young band signed to Lava. Their debut album has not come out yet. They released an EP last year, um, and but it should come out this year, 2021. They also have a fun cover coming out very soon that they talk about a little bit, and hopefully I'll get them involved in a Couch Riffs video. That'd be great. Um, it's refreshing to talk to some more young people, especially because they're impressed that I'm old enough to have seen certain bands live. And I got to be honest, I mean, I'm not surprised that most people aren't impressed with old people. I'm not impressed with old people. I'm not impressed with people my age, and I'm old. Um, but these guys are great, great rock band. Uh, these two are powerhouses. Look for them. I think they could do some really cool stuff. They have a lot of potential, and they certainly have a lot of energy for rock music. Nice dudes. So I had a great time talking with these guys. I hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I did. And if you are, please consider supporting Couch Riffs on Patreon, patreon.com/Couch Riffs. That's pretty easy. How did I come up with that? Or go check out couchriffs.com, find our merch store, find all our content there, videos, podcasts, audio, and videos. So, yeah, thanks so much for listening. And thank you very much to River City Guitars. Go check out rivercityguitars.com and follow at River City Guitars on social media. River City Guitars is a small but mighty vintage used and generally just very cool store. And Spokane, Washington. Now you say, well, I don't live near Spokane. Well, the internet is a wonderful thing, isn't it? Go check them out. Make sure you follow them on social media because they post things up there. They get sold before they ever hit the website. So check it out. And every day is a buying day over there at River City Guitars. You have something that's collecting dust and you want to move, maybe put a little scratch in your pocket, get a hold of them. Get a hold of my man Bobby over there. Tell him Mike Squires sent you. We're like family. You can give him a call at 509-818-7693 or send him an email, sales.rivercityguitars@gmail.com. Include a picture of what you're trying to sell. And again, tell him Squires sent you. You know, Bobby's going to treat you right. He's a good, fair, honest man. All right. Uh, don't forget the golden rule. Treat people the way you want to be treated and do your best to not be an asshole. All
Okay,
right.
awesome. We got names with faces now. That's perfect.
How you doing?
Great, man. I wish I had a wall of guitars behind me like you do.
Oh, them old things.
Them old things hanging up on the wall, you know.
uh, it's a funny bunch of stuff, but it's my funny bunch of stuff.
Yeah, I mean hey, it's all good, man. It's
That's
all
it.
good.
That's
Especially if it's got strings and it makes noise.
pretty much that's it, man. I mean, what was the first guitar you ever owned? Like, what was the first guitar you started learning on?
My very first guitar was a just like a $100 Epiphone Les Paul.
Right.
And then my like kind of okay, here you've taken the guitar now for a couple of years and you are kind of going with it. Then I got a PRS like Korean SE, which I loved, and I with
Yeah.
at some point over the last 2 or 3 years lost, which is really unfortunate. But because that's what the guitar that probably had the like 90% of my learning and like actually like my formative years of like being a teenager and in high school and then getting out and going to out
Which
of that.
PRS model was it? Do you remember which SE?
It was an SE custom. It
The
it
24.
was the Strat style like double
Yeah.
cut, and it was charcoal gray flat top. It's so funny and it's so weird because it had these little like you own your instruments or whatever for so long and you notice every little ding you put on it, so it's like one of those things where it's like the tailpiece where like the bridge where like around where the low E string would go in, like they're starting to get like this like little green corrosion like around it and whatever, and like there was a ding up on the headset. Like if I saw that guitar again, I would know if it
Right.
was mine or not. You know what I mean? But
I mean, when I was in high school, my uncle Bob, through some nefarious means, got me early '70s Les Paul Custom,
mm,
And I think I would. It's been years since I lost that thing. I had someone, someone stole it and pawned it,
yeah,
and I think I would still know it. I spent so much time, like,
yeah,
a lot of hours and hours and hours when I was a kid. 6, 8 hours a day.
yeah. It's
And,
rough. I mean, thankfully we haven't like had any extreme like experiences where like a bunch of our gear stolen or like this, or like there's bands that we've played with around Columbus and stuff where not too long ago, like one of the bands, like they had like their entire like 90% of the gear was stolen. You know what I mean?
I've
Like,
had that happen before. It
or-
sucks.
yeah, I know. And it's just like you think that like, and it always seems to happen in like the environments where it feels like that you would be the most safe and it would be the least likely for that to happen. It's like, oh, we're playing at such and such club and all the all the regulars are going to be there and whatever.
Most accidents happen within a half mile of home, they say.
Right, yeah, exactly. Right, unfortunately, when our guard is down, that's what happens, right?
I could drive home with my eyes closed.
Right, yeah. Until you try.
Yeah. Where are you guys at now? You guys are in Ohio?
Yeah, Columbus.
In Columbus. Man, I like Ohio. I've been through the state so many times on tour. I've played all over, and it outside of New York, it feels distinctly like America. Like New York, I feel like is America,
Yeah.
in that it's like the melting pot of America and like the historical entry point. But Ohio feels, and for sure the industrial aspects of the cities of Ohio, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, honest to goodness, you stole the words right out of my mouth when you said, I mean, it's the heartland, right? So it's kind of like we're extremely like overtly accepting of cultures, but at the same time we have our own, and I think it's just like working hard and playing harder. You know what I mean? And like, I think that, like you said, the people that are in Ohio or maybe Michigan, maybe it's like a Midwest thing, where it's just kind of like people seem to be the most down to earth and like kind of centered with who they are and just kind of like, yeah, I don't really care what anybody else thinks. Like I'm me and that's kind of it. And like you said too, there's a lot going on. Like Columbus has so many big um, like corporate headquarters, like the Limited and Victoria's Secret and all these like, I'm trying to think, like Huntington Bank and Chase Bank, like are two huge banks that are here. So there's all this like
What do you guys got?
business
Some fancy tax
revolution
breaks
stuff.
there or something?
What's that?
You guys have some fancy tax breaks there?
Unfortunately, we don't. Like we get like it's not like, you know, California, but it's also not like no state tax like, Texas or Florida or whatever. But I think with Ohio, it makes it like the property values are super affordable, and it's a lot of, it was nicknamed the cow town, and because it's, Columbus. I mean, it's a big college sports town, and then everything, around it's kind of cornfield.
Right. Yeah. I've always had a great time in Ohio. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, and the history there. I mean, like obviously with Cleveland and the rock scene that's happened there for the last 40 and 50 years is iconic. So it's a good place to be.
Have you guys toured much?
Toured in the in
Or
the sense.
got in a van and gone out and played gigs outside of Columbus?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We've been fortunate enough to play and all over the place right now. I mean, there's a lot of more places that we like to hit, but we've gotten to Texas a couple of times. We've gotten to California. We've gotten to New York. It's a little easier for us to get to like Pennsylvania and the surrounding states, obviously. and the 2020 was kind of our plan to have our really big moment of going and introducing ourselves to the world, not with just releasing our music, but going and touring off of it. Then obviously, with the year that we had and everybody had, those plans were changed.
Did
So
something happen in 2020?
yeah, I said, feels like I've been sleeping under a rock for the last year.
Man.
Something weird happened. But yeah, it's just kind of like, we were fortunate to get some of those opportunities. And like I said, we've got some things that if they stay, and they're allowed to happen, like we'll have some awesome festivals that we would have played by the end of this year. So that's super exciting, but it's kind of like same thing with everybody else. It's like one day at a time.
Have you guys found that on the traveling gigs that you have done? I mean, I guess you don't have anything to compare it against, but I always toured off of the West Coast. And I got to tell you, it's a pain in the ass to drive from Seattle to Atlanta to play your first gig, man. And
Yeah.
you guys don't have to deal with that shit.
Yeah, what's nice is that there are so many places around here, not just in the Midwest,
Right.
but so like you said, Atlanta, right? That's not too far from us, and you hit Nashville on the way and so forth. So there's there's a great way to route tours, especially if you're starting in Ohio. So you can go straight east and go all the way to New York and have hit 5 to 10 venues on the way there, and then make your way kind of back down to Carolinas and through Nashville and down to Atlanta before you even have thought about the West Coast. So yeah, starting over there because there's that big kind of line of deadness right in the middle
Dude,
of it.
it's a whole
So
day of driving just to get, from Portland to San Francisco. You're like, what?
exactly,
Like,
yeah,
nothing to do. There's no gigs in between. I mean, there could be a gig or maybe definitely not 2 gigs.
right. Yeah, now that line of deadness or sadness or whatever is probably the only place you can gig right now. So
Have you guys played gigs in 2020? I know some people have. And
we did we saw a lot of people doing the COVID shows with the tables and stuff like that. So here in Ohio, what people are doing are like, if you buy a ticket to a show, and when I say a show, I mean there's like a couple of local bands playing. There's no real shows out here. There's maybe like 3 bars in all of Ohio that are allowing that kind of a thing happen. But before the numbers really spiked, when everything was kind of about lowering, lower the curve or whatever, the curve was being lowered. There was no purple states or anything like that. Everything was a lot more safe, or at least it felt like we are kind of on the back half of it. We organized a show um, at a bar called Flanagan's in Dublin, Ohio, and very big space. We had tables that were like 7 feet apart. I think it was like 6 people to a table. So if you bought a ticket to the show, you're kind of buying a ticket for the whole table. So you get six separate tickets. You and your people that are close to you can come. COVID test or not a COVID test, but a fever and the whole shebang at the front gate. And you come in, you kind of just have to stay seated there. If you get up, you're obviously wearing masks, and if you want to go to the bar. We tried to alleviate that by we hired a lot of additional staff to the bar so that we'd have kind of waitresses more or less. And we wanted to do just kind of a one-off, here's South of Eden in 2020, because of the fact that we haven't toured really technically as South of Eden. We toured under our previous name. So ever since we've changed our name, gotten signed to a label, did all the kind of major steps in our career, we really haven't gotten to get out there. So we ended up, hosting that show at Flanagan's, and it sold out 2 nights in a row. And the only reason it didn't sell out 3 is because we weren't allowed, the city wouldn't let us do a 3rd show. So it was a great experience, and we're going to come out with a bunch of videos from that day. And we were super fortunate to not have any COVID anything come out from that show. So we knew we did it properly. Our security was jacked, but as soon as we did that, we were like, hey, we did the one. I don't think we should, play again until things get better. And then everything got way worse COVID wise. So we're like, okay, we made the right call to not keep booking, because it's like, dude, we don't know what's going to happen in the next week, so.
And it's super hard, like trying to figure out, well, what's the thing here? Because what's the move, right? Because like every fiber of our souls, is like desperately like, please give me a show to play, let me perform.
Right.
But there's obviously something going on in the world that is, bigger than any one person. You know what I mean? So I think that what we were able to do at Flanagan's at least showed us that looking into the future, like for 2021, like, hey, you can put on a show during these times, and you can make it safe, or as safe as possible. And, for, the people that feel like they want to go out to see a show, they can, and we're not forcing anybody to do it. So
Are you guys roommates by chance?
we're about to be.
we live with each other on and off again. It's just kind of whatever the
It's a
situation.
love-hate relationship.
Oh, right. No, but it's yeah. Since we've moved out, so we all used to live together. The band used to all live at Tommy's place, and since we moved out, we've lived like 5 minutes from each other. So I think so we were just talking about him moving back in again, just because. So yeah, I mean, we see each other every single day, all the time. And when all this started, we were living with each other, so it was kind of like, at least we have each other, the band, that we didn't have to stop rehearsals and do all that
Right.
kind of stuff because of how often we see each other.
Yeah, so that was my second question. You guys live close enough that you can, like, if you guys are just like, shit, I'm bored, let's do this. You guys can get in a room and play some music together.
Yeah, totally. We've been
guys-
songwriting. Yeah, I guess the songwriting thing never stops, but very recently, in the last maybe 2 months, we've kind of went into our archives, or whatever you want to call it, voice memos on iPhone, really is what it is. And just kind of scrolling through, oh, here's this riff, here's this riff, here's this riff. And it's just like 19 songs that we're currently working on, just kind of perfecting and making them perfect for the next album.
See, this is I mean, this is one thing that if this wasn't going, if the things in the world were not happening, you wouldn't have that ability. You wouldn't be able to focus that hard because you'd be out distracted by a bunch of other stuff, right?
Yeah, it's always like, like anything in life, right? It's a blessing and a curse. I think that because of who we are, regardless, like, I'd like to think that if we were super busy and like touring this year and promoting our album and doing all the things we thought we were going to be doing in 2020, like, I'd like to think that we'd still be writing, you know what I mean? Just because there's nothing that is going to stop, him from picking up an acoustic guitar and showing me an idea that he just thought of, or vice versa. That's not going to change regardless of if we're sitting around with nothing to do, or if we're on the bus, driving from city to city, because we're always like looking for the next thing. That's what is so confusing about what's happening right now, because we have, we put out our 4-song EP, and we have, an album that we're sitting on, and we wanted to just release it as an album without having to do kind of like a taste test or EP sort of a thing. But we also didn't want to just throw out this album that we, spent a lot of our, depths of our soul like making perfect. And we didn't just want to like throw it out to the wolves and like, well, just whatever happens sort of a thing. You know what I mean? So it's like we're ready as all get out to like kind of go and start, recording again. But we're also ready to like go and play these songs because we've been sitting on them for, I mean, almost a year and a half now. So it's like dealing with the catch-22 of like us being as musicians and always chasing after the next thing. It's like, man, I want to play new stuff. But then at the same time, it's like, well, we have all these songs that, yes, were recorded a year and a half ago, but they haven't gotten released in their entirety yet. So
I think for artists and performers, touring musicians, it's one thing. It's like, shit, we're not doing what we really want to be doing right now. But for music consumers, I think maybe hopefully this is going to shine a light for folks, that says like, yeah, all that time you've been sitting at home going crazy, on the other side of this, hopefully there will be an explosion of people going out and actually enjoying and supporting live music more than ever, once the fear subsides.
Yeah, I mean, I think my expectation is it's going to be the biggest party we've seen in our entire lives. Because I mean, just human beings by nature are not meant to just stay inside and
Right.
only be with your inner circle and not, it's going to drive all of us, I'm sure, crazy if it hasn't already.
The
It'll
So,
be
the,
it'll
the
be
Roaring
like
Twenties came after the last plague, right?
that's what I'm
right.
saying. It's gonna be. I was just about to say that it'll be like the modern day Renaissance period where it's just like artists are coming out with all kinds of awesome stuff that they've been kind of cultivating on for the last year, and so many different people that have wanted to go out and watch a live show or just experience any kind of artistry live will be able to do that and maybe be open to trying new things and going out new places. So who knows, man? I think it's a really, really cool period of time. And it's funny how history always rhymes. So it'll be cool.
Hey, tell me this. So, South of Eden was not your band's original name. How long was your band together before you changed your name and got signed? And did those two things happen at the same time?
We started this band when your boy Justin over here came over for a winter break from Berkeley. So he was in Boston. He and I didn't know each other, but we had a mutual friend in Tommy, our drummer, and basically Tommy had been telling me about this awesome guitar player. He'd been telling Justin about this awesome singer. Justin knew who we were like bumping elbows in local bands, so we knew who each other were. We never really gotten to work with each other though. So when he came back from winter break, we had all kind of jammed, and it was this awesome moment of like meeting Justin, where it was like, well, he's got these songs that he's written, and I've got these songs that I've written, and it's like we both sit down, and it's like, oh well, I have songs too, and it was this weird, really weird moment in my life at least, where it was like, holy crap, like he and I just sat down for 2 or 3 hours and there's 5 songs sitting in front of us. It's like this, I never had that relationship with anybody before. And
Right.
within like a week or two, we had that previous band, it's called Black Coffee. It's, debut album. And out of nowhere, we're, touring.
How long before you had that EP?
It was literally no joke, less than a month. It was maybe 2.5 weeks.
It was a
So
full album or an EP?
full album.
That's that's great.
I know. So we were blown away that the three of us were able to do that. And at that time, we didn't even have a bass yet. So it was like, let's find a bass player. Well, until we find a bass player, here's this shitty bass, and a shitty little amp here, Ehab. While you're singing, just play the bass. I'm like, all right, cool. So we booked shows. We've been playing for a year. I'm like, so what? Am I just the bass player? Is that what we're doing? Because
So you were singing and bass playing. You're stinging it.
I was Geddy Lee for a little bit. Yeah, I was pulling the Geddy Lee for a little while. Nowhere near as good, but yeah, that's kind of how we started. It was this 3-piece band that was playing songs that other people weren't. We're doing like Van Halen, and we're doing Deep Purple and Grand Funk Railroad. So we're doing all these, or Peter Frampton's. We're doing all these songs that like
What Grand
people.
Funk were you guys doing? Not to sideline you, but like that Red album, man.
Aimless Lady was one of the most fun. Aimless Lady was one of the most fun. Just the bass, like boom, over and over again. The American Band, of course, is a great one. So we were just kind of touching on a lot of different stuff. We were doing, what was the Frampton song?
Do you feel like we do?
Do we feel like do you feel like we do? So we were doing all kinds of really, really fun stuff that people hadn't heard. And there was a lot of covers, but because of how quickly we wrote that album, it was like, oh, we have these originals too that are, short little fun songs that people really quickly got accustomed to and kind of knew the words before I had even really fully written them down yet. So it was an awesome start. We got a lot of traction from the get-go, and we decided, after like maybe a year and a half or 2 years or something, that because this all started in 2017, and after, I think it was in 2018, end of 2018, that we decided that we wanted a bass player. And when we were getting the bass player, we were already getting recognition from some really cool producers, and a lot of really big time names that we would never have thought we were on the phone with. And more or less, we added Nick because Nick was an old friend of mine who fit seamlessly. Incredible bass player, became a 4-piece band, and that album that I was talking about, attracted this, people like Jason Flum. It attracted, people like the people over at what are they called, 7-Eleven, 10th Dimension Entertainment, something like that. There are a couple different management companies and labels. So there was all, that's kind of my
Sure.
array of emails.
I remember I remember the names.
Yeah.
I don't always remember the companies.
Yes, producers were lining up, management was lining up, labels were lining up. There was kind of like all these like kind of different puzzles to put together. So it was really, really exciting and awesome time in our career right at the beginning of 2019. So in the summer of 2019, we record an album at Sunset Sound Studios with Greg Wells. And
That's great.
we get everything ready to go. We do a release show here in Columbus as like the death of black coffee. Like here's the last black coffee show is on December 14th.
Yeah, that was the winter. Yeah, the last month of 2019. Because in our mind, in our genius brains, we were like, well, nobody releases anything in the fourth quarter, so let's just wait until like March of like 2020. Like that'll be perfect.
Perfect, right before the summer. And so which I'm sure there are thousands of artists that were doing the same exact thing. So we killed Black Coffee December 14th of 2019. Yeah, 2019. December of 2019, we killed Black Coffee. The new year started. We dropped a new name, and we're like teasing. We're about to release music. In January, we were in New York. We played a show at the Mercury Lounge. We were really just there on business to do some stuff with the label and meet up with a couple different people. So we just booked like a quick show or whatever, and we did that. And that was January 27th when people were laughing about COVID. It was like this thing that some people knew about. If you remember like all the news channels, like what is this COVID thing that people are talking about? Like it's apparently like the flu or something. So
I was at NAMM right around then last year, and it was like everyone was making jokes about it.
Yeah.
Har.
I mean, everybody from people like you and I to actual news anchors. It was everybody. Literally nobody thought this was going to be something until it was like, hey, this is killing people. And then here comes March when it was like, yo, this is looking like a pandemic. March 15th, everything shuts down. So
that's when I remember the day, because with the day it shut down, we were like we had a text conversation with management, and we were going through the process of deciding the location, the director, and all of that for our like debut music video for the song "The Talk." Going to go, film it in LA, and we wound up filming an awesome music video for The Talk at home in Columbus, which we're really proud of. But it was just that was like the beginning of the like, here's all of your plans are they're gone. But again, like it's the same with everybody, regardless of if you're a musician or you're an athlete or you are a personal banker, like your life has been impacted in one way or another,
so you when I listen to your music, I hear all kinds of different things. I'm like twice your guys' age, so I was even a lot of the stuff that I hear in your music was stuff that I picked up from my fucking uncle, like Aerosmith, Van Halen, even, and Van Halen, I still consider Van Halen like a on the modern side of rock bands for whatever reason, because I was a teenager in the 80s, but maybe a little Sabbath, like classic Whitesnake, even like 70s Whitesnake. What do you guys like? What stuff do you really hold close to you? And what you guys mentioned that you were doing some covers. Obviously, you're going to cover songs that you love while still sort of trying to keep people happy. But what's the stuff that makes you guys get out of bed and play music, other than, originally, not these days. Now it's your
Grammarly is your personal.
For me, it was like what you said. Like the interesting thing about Columbus is like, you got to play some certain covers that people will want to hear. In Columbus, people just want to hear rock. Like, so bringing them these songs that like I remember when we started the band, and Tommy is like the like Snapple bottle cap of all things like music history, rock and roll, all this stuff. And he's pulling out all these Grand Funk deep cuts and Sabbath deep cuts and Zeppelin deep cuts like that I hadn't heard, you hadn't heard, and he's like just a treasure trove of like an encyclopedia of this stuff. So like for me personally, it was the thing that made me obsess over the guitar was Eddie Van Halen. Growing up, my dad would he would play, like when he's working out in his garage or whatever, he'd play AC/DC live at Donington, or he would play Van Halen live without a net. So like I'd sit there as a kid and watch Angus Young go out there, to 100,000 people and put his hand up in the air and the whole place goes nuts and he goes in and thunderstruck, and that one guy had the control of 100,000 people. He had total control of all of them. And then when I got onto that, got me into rock and roll. That was like, okay, this is badass. This dude's got all this energy. He's running around. They're loving every minute of it. And then I saw Eddie, and it was like, wow, this is a virtuoso. This is somebody who has mastered his craft. And he did shit that I still can't even like wrap my brain. I can't even put half of his shit into words.
He speaks his own language.
Yeah, I mean the one of the best comments I ever heard, I think it was like Sammy Hagar was saying like, I don't know what planet Eddie Van Halen comes from, but they all play guitar, and he's not from this freaking planet. Like, I'd buy
One
that.
of my favorite things about Eddie Van Halen is he played bass on a Sammy Hagar solo record.
Yeah, and yeah,
so cool.
He played bass on Van Halen albums too.
It's funny I don't think I learned that until a year ago.
It's interesting though, isn't it?
It makes sense to me now because it sounds like there's 2 or 3 bass players in that band.
Right. Yeah.
When you're
like, what is this?
And he's really versatile.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that goes to show, like, that guy more than anything else knew how to write a pop song. You know what I mean? But because of the way that the sounds that he liked, this raw energy, the what he was trying to get out of the guitar, obviously it came off as, raw and hard hitting as it did. But if you get down to it, it's pop song, it's just sing along songs that, will go, I'll go until the end of my days. That's the Van Halen albums are like the soundtrack to my life, and it's going to be like that forever.
Did you get to see them live on one of the reunions or anything with Dave? I never saw him with Dave.
Thankfully, I did. I saw them a couple times, and the last time that I saw them, like, went completely all out. Like I was still in school, in college, and I got a nice return, and I was like, okay, Van Halen's playing. There goes 2015, and I was like, this might be my last. Who knows, right? So I think I spent $1,500. I'm pretty sure those tickets were $750 a piece, but we got VIP second row right in front of Eddie. And I had planned on taking my girlfriend, and she had the wonderful wisdom to break up with me a week before the show, which was awesome because then I got to take Tommy, our drummer. And I'll never forget the phone call because I was like, dude, I don't have anybody to go with, like, blah, blah. He's like, dude, that's awesome, but like, I can't afford a $750. I'm like, you don't understand. I'm way past trying to find somebody to pay for this ticket and come with me. So I have to go by myself. He's like, okay. And that was, I got a pick. Eddie freaking in the middle of Romeo Delight, again, I'll never forget this moment. He came over to Tommy, and this is like, these moments when they happen, because it's like, we were there, and I'll be honest, like, the people that were in the first 10 rows that could afford that were not a couple of 20-year-old like kids, you know what I mean? Like, or if they were with their parents or whatever. So when Eddie or Dave would come over and they see like 2 like kids in the front row, they kind of like would keep making eye contact. I'm like, dude, he keeps fucking looking at you. He keeps looking at you. And then in the middle of Romeo Delight, Eddie Van Halen stopped in the middle of the song. He stopped playing and he gave Tommy a thumbs up. And I fucking will never forget that shit for the rest of my life. And we like immediately like looked at each other like, ah! Like, so
The girl behind them that was flashing Eddie was not what he gave him a thumbs up to. You know, I'm just kidding.
Of course not.
That's awesome though. Yeah, he loves him some Eddie Van Halen. Let me tell you what, loves him some Eddie Van Halen.
Who in their right mind wouldn't love Eddie Van Halen?
Very
people
true.
without right minds.
There's nothing to dislike about it. There's
That's
something
mine.
for everyone.
Well, the thing, there's something for everyone. I think that the biggest issue that Van Halen had was there was this like
Four singers.
well, not even, I don't even really think that. I think that when people in our generation, at least, like when you say Van Halen or talk about Van Halen, like there's this, people think they're a hair band. And I don't really see Van Halen as being like a hair band. You know what I mean? Like the whole hair band thing happened because everybody was trying to have a blonde lead singer like David Lee Roth, and they were trying to do crazy guitar shit like Eddie Van Halen.
They predated that.
Right.
They were certainly responsible for some of it.
Right. They were probably, they
Them
absolutely
and Kiss,
were.
Them and Kiss. I think it's a combination of Van Halen and Kiss in the 70s made hair metal.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I see it.
I mean, between that and because again, you got to figure, the first Van Halen album was recorded in '77, and they were a band since '74. So I mean, they're a '70s band. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think, unfortunately, no, not by that, by.
I would refer to them as the 70s.
See, he thinks that Guns N' Roses is the greatest band of all time, and nobody can touch them. And Van Halen can't even touch like 2002 era Guns N' Roses, which is just silly.
No, I get a little shitty.
Well, now Guns N' Roses had a huge impact on my life because I was into, and I still am into, Warren DeMartini and George Lynch. Like those guys are phenomenal guitar players. Jakey Lee. Like I was that's what was happening in 1985 when I got a guitar.
Yeah.
But when Appetite came out, it changed everything for me. It really did absolutely alter the climate of popular music. Because
Guns N' Roses for me was this crazy epiphany because I grew up on Arabic music. That was kind of all I'd ever listened to because I came to America in 2001. So
how old were you?
I was like four years old. Like 4.5, something like that. So still very young. But all of the culture from Jordan, my parents, they weren't like English speakers when they came here. So I came here speaking only Arabic, and my parents only spoke Arabic in the house. Our whole house was, completely decked out in Arab culture. So that is something that I've carried with me till this day, which is awesome because Arabic's still my first language, which is, a blessing that they put me in schools to refine my reading and all that kind of stuff. Fantastic. So they were listening to that kind of stuff and whatever else made it to the Middle East. So like giant hits, right? Michael Jackson, Phil Collins, James Brown, a lot of things like that are what my parents were listening to. So when we came here, I really didn't get to latch on to any of the stuff that my parents were listening to because most of it was Arabic, which I really liked, but I was starting to discover kind of new stuff when I came here. And, things like, the sissiest stuff, right? or whatever you want to call it, like Jesse McCartney or like.
I don't even know what that is.
Exactly. Things you really wouldn't know that if anybody does know, like these little pop singers that, in 2004, 2005 were doing exactly what everyone else was doing in that time. So that's really what I really liked. I like these like people that could sing. It was just all about singing. And when I really got into Michael Jackson was around 2005 or 6 when somebody showed me his Billie Jean performance. And I was like, how is this dude? Right. I'm like, how is this? Like this dude's wearing rollerblades. Like what's happening with his feet? And then the next video I watch is Black or White. And I'm like, well, this guy's awesome too. He kind of sounds like the other guy. Like this is really cool. And it's like, no, that's the same person. I'm like, What do you mean it's the same person? So I mean,
You
I'm
missed
9 years old.
you missed the whole Dirty Diana part.
Didn't see that. I didn't
Yeah.
see the bad album. I didn't see any of the mixed Michael. So it was, man, it was like somebody turned 30 light bulbs on at the same time in my head. And it was like, okay, well, I want to be a performer for sure. And from being a performer, I realized that I wanted to be a musician. I started off as really just a dancer. And dancing led me to singing, and singing led me to wanting to play an
What
instrument, which
kind
was
of
like
dancing were you doing? Were you breakdancing?
I was breakdancing. I
Do
really
you
was.
still
I was
breakdance?
rocking. Yeah, yeah. You know, I probably still have. I mean, I remember it all. It's just about how fluid does it look now, you know, to the background of like rock music. So you know that
I kind
Michael,
of want a lesson now, though. I didn't. I
dude,
forgot
you've
about
seen the
your
moonwalk, bro.
I've seen. Yeah, no,
You've
he's
seen
got
the
a good
moonwalk.
moonwalk. I will give him that. But outside
This
of that, I
could
haven't
be your
really seen.
guys' new intro. You guys could like just bust some like classic Run DMC or something, you know, and come
I'll be-
out and throw down some cardboard, break,
Yes.
do a like a break dance off, and then launch into your first song. You're
Exactly.
Thank
you. Thank you.
In the
Yeah,
non-
exactly. So from playing music is kind of how I got into listening to rock music. And really, Nick was the first person to show me rock music, and it was the song Rocket Queen, which was, it was like the live version of Rocket Queen from the live album, the 87 to 92 era or whatever. And that song made me immediately be like, wow, rock sounds horrible. I'm just like, this is the nastiest. Like, I can't even understand what this guy is saying. He's gargling nails. I'm like, what the hell is this? So the next song he shows me is Run to the Hills by Iron Maiden. I'm like, okay, this is like operatic. This guy is like really singing. So I learned that song. I learned Man in the Box by Alice in Chains, all songs I'd never heard before. So I go to his little band's rehearsal and we do them all and it's fun. So what about that song Rocket Queen? I'm like, dude, I literally don't know what he's doing. Like, I can't sing that. So he shows me all these other videos, and it was just like when I found Michael Jackson, it was like, oh, holy shit. Like, whoa, this dude doesn't sound like anybody else. He has his own thing going. And when I found Guns N' Roses is really when I found like guitar playing and songwriting, and really I took a big like kind of jump into rock music. And that's why Guns N' Roses has always kind of held a very special place in my heart, because it really kind of, it was another 30 light bulbs that got turned on. You know, it was just the next kind of step in my life.
So let me ask you this. Had you played bass or guitar before you started becoming the singing bass player?
Not really. No, not
No.
really. Like, my guitar playing was limited to like, here's what a G chord it looks like, but it sounds like shit because I'm pressing the strings too hard or something. You know what I mean?
Looks
Yeah,
good,
it's because
far
it's like,
from good,
and
good.
to learn the guitar, it's like a 3 or 4 year process, because the first year and a half is the muscle memory. 2 years is like kind of note getting, and then you just got to spend a year making that sound good, because the touch is everything. And he's taught me. I mean, my guitar playing has gotten way better in the last 3 years being in a band with this dude. So, you know, that's that. I had no experience playing bass, and it was just like, well, you know, it's easier than the guitar. It's got less strings. You just press the one note instead of the two, and we made it work. You know.
But I think that was smart, though. That's something I wish I would have done, because I can't play bass. Like, if I haven't sat down.
You can play bass though. If you can play a guitar,
Right,
you know
but
what
my
I mean?
point to that is similarly to like how some people, because like he can play piano as well. And when I was in school, like if your major wasn't piano, your minor was piano, because that's how for like ear training purposes, blah blah, all that stuff. So
Yes.
like, unfortunately, ever since I got out of school, I like haven't touched piano like once. So like, I don't know anything about it anymore, but I wish that just from like, when you think about it, like, because you got good at bass pretty quick, like, and yeah, you're only dealing with 4 notes, but if you think about it, you're thinking about like the roots, and then you start going, oh, okay, well, I can put these little notes in here in between them, and you start like building off of that, and then go to the guitar after.
Yeah, and playing piano, like, because piano was kind of my first instrument, and knowing how to do that, I was just all about like, what would my left hand do to this right hand part? Like, you were kind of writing all the right hand stuff, and I was writing all the left hand stuff. That's kind of how my brain broke it down. And growing up with Nick, you know, Nick really being the first influence I had, he was always a bass player. Nick wasn't this dude that was like, Nick can play guitar, but Nick isn't a guitar player. He's not gonna be the guy that's like, oh, let me go play drums because I want to. No, he's like a bass player. He's like, dude, there's an art to bass playing that when I die, I will still not have perfected it. He's very, very adamant about it. It's fucking awesome. It's really hard to find people like that.
Let me ask you this: how much because you were singing and you just picked up the bass, and you're concentrating on playing the bass. How much do you feel like it restricted you from feeling free with your vocals, and how liberating was it to put the bass down and just become the singer? Like, it must have been a great feeling.
It was phenomenal. The bass felt like a leash is really what it felt like, because I'd never been on stage with an instrument. I was always just a singer. So it was really, really a leash. It felt like I couldn't move around as much as I wanted to. Like, instead of being able to like be center stage looking at people, like, oh, my singing part is coming, I gotta run back to my microphone. That shit sucked. I was not a fan. And it was like, man, you're a pretty good bass player and a pretty good singer. And I'm like, well, I'm actually like a really good bass player and a really good singer. But when I do the two of them together, it's like I'm a pretty good bass player and a pretty good singer. So that was, it was bugging the shit out of me. So I was like, dude, I can't, I can't keep listening to live performances that would be immaculate, but there's a little flub here and there because I'm trying to sing and it wasn't even like the singing and playing at the same time was like a super challenge, because piano is such a great place to start. You separate left brain from right brain. Your left hand's doing one thing, your right hand's doing another thing. So that I had that down. It was more of the got to run back to my microphone, or I have this fucking cable stuck to me, and all this kind of bullshit. So it was, like you said, a relief. It was just like, oh my God, thank you. This is what I've been wanting to do. And the songwriting even got better when we got a bass player, because of the fact that like I can now watch the band play the song, and I'm this free flowing spirit that's kind of around it. That's what I've always loved about Robert Plant, right? Is that he doesn't, like, it's almost like the rest of the band, they're just playing the key signature and you're doing whatever you want with the time. I really love that kind of
Does
of
he
a
play
feeling.
any instruments? Does he play, like, he probably plays some sort of a, some sort of a little gourd backed thing,
Oh yeah, you
MIDI
already
or
know.
something or other, right? I don't know.
Oh, you already. I think he does play a couple of things. I don't know the level. I'm really not sure. But like you said, I would imagine him playing some little
Mandocello.
like, or right, or like some little like instrument from India or Asia or something over there on top of a mountain. That's probably what he would be doing.
You know what I really want? I really want a saz. Do you know what this is? It's like this long-necked, gourd-bodied thing with like some movable microtonal frets.
Oh my gosh, yes.
They're so, I've been obsessed with them. Well, I don't know if I'd call it, I don't wake up in the middle of the night screaming saws, but I learned about them in the 90s, and at the time you could buy one for 150 or $200, but I was 22 and made $40 a day. That was a lot. That was a lot of cake to cough up for something like that. I'm gonna, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna fucking buy one as soon as we're done. Today is the day. Today is the day.
You're like, I don't know how long it take me to learn how to play it, but I will buy it.
That's it. It's not even the first time I've talked about it on this fucking podcast. I can't believe it.
Well, now we're gonna have to check in and like, now I'm expecting to like see the saws the next time.
I'm gonna learn all your songs on the saws.
Please.
Yes, please.
So you guys have 19 new songs that you're working on. Do you have plans to get in a studio and record them? Or do you have to stay focused on trying to support the unreleased record whenever that's possible?
I think that our plan right now is to really hone in these next batch of this next batch of songs, because of the fact that, I mean, we have we have like a plan more or less. It's really just an outline. It's a skeleton of a plan, because if you plan too hard right now, you'll be disappointed, and it's very discouraging if you plan very tentatively right now. So for us, it's at the moment, it's like, around summertime, June-ish, hopefully we can release the rest of this album, because we will know that in August we can start touring heavily and really get back on the road. If that's not the case, then we have to wait longer. But I think either scenario, it would be good to have another album under our, the fuck was that saying? Thank you. Right, I was like, what is that saying? But it'd be good to have it, because if we are gonna go tour our asses off, it's gonna be better to be like, well, we already have this. We don't have to stop touring in order to record something new. We can do a circuit and a half and not have to ever go to a studio. And hopefully do up to 2.5, 3 circuits before having to go back into a studio. But 19 songs, I don't think we're ever planning on doing a record that's more than 12 songs. I think all of our records would be about 10 or 12 songs, because I think that anything more than that is you're putting filler stuff in. So but we've never been a filler band. So hopefully we can get into a studio soon and record all these cool new ideas. I guess other than that, in the future is like, we've got a little, Eddie Van Halen thing that we're doing.
Is that an official announcement?
It may have been. we're doing a little tribute because of how influenced we are by the guy. We're going to kind of just pay homage to a couple of things that he did. So we're excited about that.
You guys are recording. Are we cool to talk about this?
We can touch on it. I got to be a little, mysterious about it, but yeah.
So you guys are doing something that is Van Halen tribute type thing, like recording or performance.
Correct. Yeah.
That's
and it is very, because of the time that we're in, it is very do it at home kind of a feel. So it'll be fun. It'll be great. The performance is going to be a lot of fun.
Rad. Have you guys? You guys are young and resourceful, although you've already indicated to me that you suck at technology. When all of the LimeWire and everything came out, there was all of a sudden, people had the ability to share music in a way that, the internet hadn't seen yet. There was no fucking YouTube at this time. And so, I got all the old unreleased Van Halen demos that eventually, some of those songs came out with that last A Different Kind of Truth. Is that what it's called?
Yeah. Yep.
Some of them came out on that, and then there's like all these other versions of songs it made, like House of Pain is completely
yeah.
Do you guys hear any of that stuff?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yes, we have.
I'm thinking of the choir right now.
Oh, dude, him especially. So in the same way that I obsessed about Michael Jackson or Axl Rose, he did the same with Eddie. And you've honestly shown me all kinds of videos, like Peter Frampton, for example, or Joe Bonamassa. Like we get into these YouTube holes, and YouTube is on our TVs now. It's not on our iPhones anymore. So you can literally pull it up on a TV, and you're sitting there in your living room smoking and hanging out, and it's like 2.5 hours of just Van Halen, and the wormhole that you can get into is incredible. And Spotify, I think it was it Spotify that released or no, it was a YouTube thing. It was definitely somebody put up a YouTube video, and it was like all of these tracks that they did with, it was like the demos of the first album when Gene Simmons first found them.
Yeah, dude.
And it was that, and then you sent me the Spotify thing, which was like there was a Spotify page or whatever. I don't even know what they call it in Spotify, playlist. And see, this is what I'm saying. Okay, so they had like shown like anything that Eddie was featured in. Like, so if you just did a guitar part or a piano part,
every
or
credit,
bass,
it was every credit that Eddie ever had, and it was
like all music or something.
Yeah, man, it was so badass. It was like all kinds of stuff that you'd never, like, even artists that I'd never heard of before, but like, oh my god, just the coolest little things that he had done on different stuff. Even rappers, there's a bunch of rappers that used Eddie that I had no idea. Yeah, man, they used them for like loop stuff. Like he would just
like Tone Low.
Yeah, exactly, and it was just so cool. Like
and they have like people like oh god, they had oh, there's the thought. It ran away. It flew away. It's gone. Never
He
mind.
was everywhere, man, and the whole Thriller thing with like and there's our
Oh
worlds
yeah,
colliding, right?
Beat
You
It.
got Van Halen and Michael Jackson, the Beat It solo, which actually Justin told me was more than just a solo. He came in and actually helped with like they had the whole song, and he was basically like, "Yo,
He
the
rearranged
arrange,
it.
yeah, like let's do this here and this there." And
Is that right?
Michael was blown away that like Eddie even took the time to really care about the song enough to like help arrange it a little bit differently to make the song
Like
better.
they wanted him to solo over like the main riff or some. I can't remember exactly how he said it. Eddie did an interview on CNN where he actually talks about it a couple years ago, and they basically used like him, Steve Lukather, who recorded the guitars like for that
The rhythm
amazing
part.
guitar
Yeah.
player. They were like super close. Like there was just that kind of like you know that thing that happened. The thing that gets me about the Van Halen demos and then repurposing them is like I don't understand why they got flack for it. I don't really think they got like a bunch of flack for it, but because there was like the majority of people were like, no, this is cool because it sounds like old Van Halen because it was written
Yeah.
when other songs were written, so it has that vibe. But then there's also people like, oh, well, there's the Bria Juice. It's clearly Art Flown Blind. It's just like, fuck you, shut up.
Ah,
Like
you know.
we literally do the same thing. Like it just makes sense. It's like okay,
Right.
writing something, you have a part. You might still like it, and there's better songs that come up. But then sometimes you're like, oh, hey, well, that song's not a song anymore. But I really
Good
like this
is
part.
good. That's
Yeah.
it. Good is good.
Good is good.
know?
Exactly.
If you've got some great songs already, hone them and put them out.
Yeah.
People want it. People
Yeah.
want good. Like, why take chances? Yeah. I mean, the other thing is that was material that they had in the vault or whatever, right? You know, who knows what their real inner working relationship was like, you know? So working on new songs isn't always, you know, real easy if you
Oh.
if you don't have a great relationship with, you know, within the band. So
Yeah, it definitely makes it
probably
a
made
lot.
that a lot easier.
Yeah, to when you were like genuinely like each other. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the thing. It's like, you know, you have to have enough respect for the person in front of you, and even like because we all get like we each individual like cares about this so much, and you know puts their own foot forward so often, and it's like we all give each other the respect to like, hey, let this guy, you know, get his 2 cents in. That was honestly the biggest thing that like what started the whole band was like, I want to have fun and everybody gets their licks in. Like the drummer gets cool, awesome, dope drum fills and play the parts he wants. So the guitar player has his moments and the singer can has his moments and all this. And um,
There's not a lot of thinking that's going on. There's not a lot of
yeah, I wish sometimes I wish there was more thinking, but there's not.
That's what keeps music exciting, right? I mean, if everyone has the ability to sort of like, I mean, I'm not a big jazz. I appreciate jazz, but I can't put a number next to a chord. I don't know what that means. So, you know, but if everyone has an opportunity to express themselves within a song, you know, that keeps it exciting.
Yeah, it's really cool to kind of remember how we used to write songs versus how we write songs now, because it's not very different. Really, the only difference is like we ask ourselves the question of what does the song call for? That's really all it is. Because,
Yeah, sure.
and I can't really didn't do that before. It was just more like we actually say it out loud now. It's just like every time we write a song, it's either a melody or a riff, and the drum beat that gets played to it enhances the whole thing. And then you just, you know, put the microphone in front of me and let me sing, and it will dictate how the song goes. It'll dictate the feeling. Everybody will look at each other and know exactly what's happening, and the next part will just come to us. It's like it's falling off a tree or something. It's fucking, you know, it's therapeutic.
When you guys were young kids, was there music being performed in your homes? Did either your parents perform music, or were they music fans only?
Mainly music fans. My dad like picked up the guitar like when I was um super young, like when I was probably like 8 or 9. I think he played from like about the time I was like 9 to like 15. So that was so I had it was weird. Like I had like Hendrix like always said he picked up his dad's guitar and flipped it backwards. My dad was a lefty, and ironically he had a white Strat that he would play, and then like, well, this is stupid. It's supposed to be like this, clearly. So I took his lefty guitar and flipped it righty. That was like the first guitar I ever played.
Huh.
And but before that, even my mom's brother, my uncle, he was a drummer. And I mean that going over to like Thanksgivings and this and that and the other thing, his Van Halen was Rush. So it's like you always go in and he's like playing to like subdivisions or something, and I'm like this human being who is related to me play like Neil Peart and like play the parts perfectly and this and that, and I'm like, you can do that? Well, cool. Like I can probably at least to do it, right? You know. But that was it for me.
Is your
Yeah, my parents
still around?
I'm sorry.
Is your pop still around?
He is.
Is he so stoked that you are in a band that's, I mean, you don't get to do anything right now because no one gets to do shit, but he must be pretty proud of you.
He is. He definitely is in his own way. I would. There are. Unfortunately, there's so like.
You guys competitive?
We all have really, really great moms. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Oh, yeah. Hey, man.
We all have
Same.
great moms. Not all of us are blessed with fantastic fathers, but I will say that even like even in the times where their own capabilities can fail them, you know, I was at least enough to be put in a situation where I was provided for. And yeah, when I was a kid, like that was the number one thing that both my parents instilled in me was like, it does not matter like what you want to do with your life. The only thing that matters is how hard you're willing to work for it. And you know, he taught me, you know, there's a lot of those life kind of things that happen when you're younger and you carry with you. And obviously having a parent, you know, I read all those stories and like I wish I had a cooler story of like the old days when it was like, yeah, our parents hated loud music and drums and we were always sneaking out in the middle of the night to go. It's like that really wasn't my life. It was more like, hey, no, like you clearly like this, so you know, take the ball and roll with it, sort of a thing.
That sounds nice, man.
Yeah.
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 But that was then. That's you know, things have changed a little bit.
Yeah, my parents are not, you know, it's my parents are not supportive of the music thing. They, you know, I was raised to, you will be doctor, and that was the whole plan. The whole
You're
fucking
dealing, yeah,
time.
but you're dealing with the cultural.
Yeah, true. You know, I had to have like a 4.5 GPA. Like, wasn't allowed to get B's, and like, and I'm not even being sarcastic. I'd get my ass beat for getting a B plus.
Dude,
man.
if
It's
I
so
brought a
stupid.
B plus or if I brought a B minus in math class, like if I had B minus on my report card in math, I was going out for ice cream.
Oh.
Like there's no like, dude, like that was a win for me, dude.
No, the
But
biggest
you
thing
had a whole different set of pressures at home.
It was like, yeah.
Yeah, no, my pressure was like, no, like you're an Arab kid, like you have to like study, you got to work twice as hard as these people are, like, you know, that you're going to be looked down upon, like you can't be a musician, those people are fucking scumbags, like you got to be a doctor.
That's right.
Yeah, we are fucking scumbags. She definitely wasn't, you know, she wasn't saying the wrong things, but no, but you know, so I went to college, you know, I went right out of high school into college. You know, got awesome scholarships, went to OSU, did the whole, you know.
What did you go to school for?
Pre-med. So the whole plan was to go to medical school. That was my whole plan.
Wow.
To actually go to medical school. So I was, you know, I mean, most of the first 2 years of college, you have to take gen ed, but you know, you take a little bit of anatomy, take a little bit of this and that. So right before I got my associate degree is when it it was that same winter break. He came back,
Right.
and I met him, and I threw everything kind of to the side.
Oh, your fucking parents are pissed, dude.
They're not happy. But
Did you? I'm sure because I would not care. But how much of the blame did you put on me?
you know,
I feel like that's what every kid does, right? Whenever you get in trouble, it's like, no, it was Tommy's idea. No,
Yeah,
Mom,
yeah.
it wasn't me. It was my friends.
he convinced me to drop out, and
Because we did drop out the same fucking time.
we did. Well, you at least tried to transfer to OSU. If you,
Oh,
you remember
yeah,
that,
yeah.
and it was like, oh, we'll do it together, and
Shucky darn.
we'll do it. And then I
Yeah.
never went ever. You at least went.
he was coming over to like hang out at my house or whatever, like while he was in school.
Yeah,
Like-
so that my parents wouldn't find out that I wasn't in school anymore.
I mean,
Yeah, we were writing songs.
if this is too gnarly of a question, you certainly don't feel obligated to answer, but what was that conversation like with your parents when you told them I'm leaving school to dedicate myself to being a singer in a rock band? Oh, but
Well,
also I'm going to teach myself how to play bass. So I'm still learning stuff.
Right.
yeah, it was one of the worst days of my life, probably, which is not the case for most people. Most people are like, dude, it was awesome, and my parents were so supportive, and my parents weren't like that. Well, first of all, it doesn't help that I didn't tell them I dropped out of college, right? They found out that I dropped out of college.
Yeah, you didn't do yourself any favors.
So not exactly golden star kid boy, but especially because of the way that they kind of perceived me. I'm not saying this was the right thing to do, but I really felt like I was kind of living a double life because I'm still a Muslim, and I was raised Muslim, and I very much believe in Islam, but I was raised very, very strictly. And like music puts a black cover on your heart from God, kind of a belief.
It feels like 1940s, like
yeah.
Catholicism here.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
It,
That's kind of what the modern day of Islam is. It's a strict religion. It's not, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you. Oh yes. I have my door closed, my dog will run into, so I understand that. But yeah, it was the kind of a thing where I'd broken up with this girl that decided to be very thoughtful and go tell my mom that I'd been lying to her about school because I broke up with her. So that's how my mom found out. It was
she
not
was
great.
a little vengeful.
Yeah, she was. Yeah. But so she calls me and she's like, "What are you doing with your life?" And I explained to her how passionate I am about it, and she did not. She wasn't a fan. My father literally hated it, and it was a big struggle. But I have a good relationship with my mom now, and she supports what I do, and she at least she constantly talks about college still, like about, well, when are you going to go back, kind of a thing. But it's much better than it was. My father's not going to watch this interview, so my dad's a dick. I can say that. But he unfortunately just doesn't see. He didn't appropriate himself to America at all. Really, is what it is. My mom came here. She learned English. She got her GED.
Right.
She did college classes. She's an interpreter now. She works in hospitals.
Oh, wow.
This is a woman that was born in Kuwait. And when Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait, she had to flee Kuwait and go to Jordan. Her brother was killed by Saddam's people and blah, 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 blah. It's like, holy shit, that's somebody that was on ground zero over there at the time.
She's a badass.
She is a badass. She's a crazy, crazy motherfucker. And it's awesome because she's such a strong woman. But it hurt her that I wasn't honest. And I'm sure it wasn't a good thing about the music thing, but honesty is really so big in my life now, because that 4 years ago when she found out about this, it was devastating to her. And so I just, since that day, I've never wanted to hurt her or really just anybody with a lie and stuff like that. So yeah, that's kind of it was a rough conversation, but it worked out in the end. Right, here we are, even though we're doing nothing, but still here we are.
I'm personally really enjoying the podcast.
Well,
so
yes,
I am doing something
riveting.
This is the highlight of my day so far. Oh God, thank you.
Me too. I think that probably, I mean, I'm guessing. What did your dad do when he got here?
The first thing he did was selling phone cards, kind of door to door to different gas stations. So phone cards were these things. Maybe you remember. You go to a gas station or a mini mart. Anyone that's kind of younger, and
Bro, I'm 49. I know what a phone card is.
okay, good. Anybody that doesn't know what it is, before Skype, before all the fun internet stuff, you used to have to dial in this code and you scratch. It's like $5 for 2 hours or something like that. You call overseas. So they were a big hit at the time because America's a big old melting pot, and especially Columbus, Ohio, is hugely populated with all kinds of different races and different cultures, which is awesome. And so he hit it off really quickly, really fast, started Columbus phone cards. And he was basically just like, I started off just driving to different gas stations, then eventually had his own office. He had people driving for him and so forth. When Skype came out, he ended up investing in like different mini marts and gas stations. And so he kind of is a business guy. He, owns a couple different things in that kind of a regard and does his thing that way. So when he first came here, that's kind of how he got from there to what he's doing now.
I never had any pressure to do anything, right? I never had a curfew. No one even ever encouraged me to graduate high school. So I imagine, like, I guess I'm not going to be an apologist for your old man, but he probably like thought, do you have siblings?
I do. Yeah. I'm the oldest of 4.
Woo! Do you still talk to your brothers and sisters?
Yeah, I have a great relationship with them. They're like, they're some of the closest people in my life. My brother actually, he does a lot of he does merch and stuff for us.
Yeah, he's not going to medical school. He's going to be your tour manager.
No, what I did for my siblings was I shattered the glass that or shattered, I guess, the mirror, which was a fake mirror that was showing this reflection of you must be this perfect human being, and your parents are also perfect human beings. And in fact, they can breathe underwater and fly. So, I was able to kind of really show my siblings that, like, yo, you can actually be your own person and you can actually do whatever the fuck you want, because the harshness of this life is that your parents are going to die. Your parents aren't going to be there, and it's
all
going
to die.
Yeah, we're all going to die. And at the end of the day, it's like you will face your maker and whatever that you believe your maker is, but you have to believe it. It's not what somebody else told you, so they they definitely also got, a lot less reprimanding from my parents because I was such a bad kid. I was like this kid that was super good at school, but on the weekends, the cop would take me home because of curfew. So it's kind of 50-50 scenario.
I've said this, I've had this a very similar conversation with other people. And then the podcast that's going to publish right before this one, I was having a conversation with someone and we were both talking about how nobody has ever, no one ever is on their deathbed saying, I wish I would have worked more at some shitty job that I hated and spent less time doing things that I loved and was passionate about. And so, man, I commend you for making a choice for your happiness.
I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, man, it's all about keeping ourselves happy. It's about making what comes to you positive, because if life, if the world was a happy place, things wouldn't die. If the world was a happy place, the things wouldn't be polluted, and the
farts would smell good.
Farts would smell real good.
Some people still think
farts don't smell good.
Well, see, there it is.
I don't, as I've gotten older, you're like, all right, here we go again, Uncle Mike. Is this another talk about phone cards? No, I've grown to appreciate people more, not when they die, but when someone that I know or that's close to me dies, I guess my outlook on it has changed a lot, where I just say, I'm so happy that I knew that person.
Yeah.
Like,
And
how
it was
diminished would my life have been if I never knew that person? And because they're gonna die anyway, everyone's gonna
Right.
die. Me, you guys,
But
me
having
probably way before you guys, but
But you don't know that. I mean, we all like, I mean, I could get out in my car and God forbid, you know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. It's like, but in the flip side of like what you're saying too, is it's like learning, and that's what life is. It's learning how to take a negative and turn it into a positive, right? It's like, so like when I lost my grandma, like it was unbelievably hard for me. And it's still hard. And like, she's been gone for a little over 4 years now. And it was very like long process because she was struggling with Alzheimer's. So I
had
had to watch this like woman, and she was actually like the only grandparent that I had because my mom's parents are like fuck ups, and my dad's dad had a stroke and he couldn't really talk very well. He died when I was super young. So really I only knew my grandma, my mom's dad, or my dad's mom. And she was just like probably like what you would describe your grandma as, like a saint, like the woman, like she didn't swear, she didn't like, she like would give the shirt off of her back to a stranger if they like, the types of people that literally aren't made anymore, you know what I mean? But being able to like, because I held a lot of resentment, like I held resentment for like, God, like how of all people, like somebody who's lived their entire life taking care of those around them, and then she has to deal with, losing her mind and forgetting. But at the same time, like you said, who would I be if I didn't get, the 14 years, good years with her that I did, I wouldn't have had. I feel like what little good is in here, like, and is pure still left in here, like, came from her.
my grandmother also went from Alzheimer's, and it's a really terrible, ugly disease. And I can't imagine how terrifying the onset it must have been for either of these folks and anyone that suffers from it, because
Did your grandmother? Did she ever get like? Did she ever get the Alzheimer's? That like, did she get angry? Did she turn into like?
did all of it. I mean, one of my
Really?
uncles ended up taking her away from and taking her to his house for as long as he could. And talk about his pain. Um, you know, no one else in the family was really equipped to wipe their own asses, let alone take care of my grandmother at the time. So this one uncle, he took care of her for a long time before she went into assisted care. But yeah, no, it was, there were super difficult moments. I would go visit her and she would not know who I was, and then I would say my name and she would think I was my father. Yeah. Which, because he's also, his name's Mike. So
Right.
really crazy. But eventually, I mean, it's an ugly disease. Eventually, like, you forget how to talk.
Right,
Like
right. And that's the thing. The one thing that I'm thankful for is she, and I only attribute the type of person she was. Never got angry. Like she never got that kind. Like she would get frustrated, like especially when it was just dementia. Like because it was right around the time when I had just gotten my temporary permits to drive. So I was like 15 and a half, like, or 16, going on 16, and I would like go and stay over with her all the time because she, again, being so like she refused to move out of her house. She would not move in with us. She took care of people in her life. She was not about to let people take care of her. So we kind of like rode that out as long, with a watchful eye and this and that and the other thing. And I'd go over there and help, drive her around and this and that and the other thing. And like she would go into a room and I would like pass a room and she'd be sitting in there with her kind of like with her head, hand on her forehead. And you're like, Grandma, what are you doing? She's like, I can't remember what I came into this room for. And she wouldn't, like, she was determined to like beat it. You know what I mean? She wouldn't like let her at the beginning. That was the hardest part, was the beginning, was watching her read the pamphlets and like, hey, this is what's gonna happen to you. And like that was just, I don't think I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy, honestly.
No. Let me ask you this. I mean, my experience with my grandmother had a profound effect on me. And as a result, for a long time, I was obsessed with doing crossword puzzles because somewhere I read that it was good to keep all the things firing in your brain, like keep all the connections going. And it was a good deterrent for anything like that to come on in the event if this was some sort of a hereditary, because I was fucking terrified. To
Yeah.
this day, I play Scrabble, like I have 6 games of Scrabble going.
Well, and I think of that all the time too, because I think I've read
it's a gene.
It's a gene.
It's hereditary.
Well, there's a hereditary thing with that, but my grandpa, her husband, has had 2 strokes, and that's a hereditary thing too. They think so.
Right.
So
that's
fucked.
something where I'm like you talk about like the whole right brain, left brain thing, and I'm going back and I'm like thinking about all those D's in math and science class and all my A's in history class, and I'm like, all right, one of the sides of the brain I got to start working on.
We gotta jumpstart one of the sides.
So. No, but it's a real like, I mean, it's scary shit. You know what I mean? Like,
you guys are
that's
young though. You got years and years and years ahead of you before you have to start worrying about having bad backs and knees and fucking dementia.
Speak for yourself.
I'm
falling apart over here, man.
He's a grandfather, dude. He's the oldest 27, 26, 20, 39-year-old you've ever met.
Is that right? Did you play sports or something when you were a kid, or you just have?
No, I have.
I'm an old athlete.
Yeah. Fuck off. I was like, man, I throw the football clear over in mountains. I was all pro. No, I didn't play. I just had really bad posture. All my
left out.
He fucked his entire shoulder system, both of them, by playing guitar. And his posture playing guitar for years is what inevitably like has messed up his back. And I feel like you stand really straight though. Like I feel like your posture while you're standing is great, but then when you put a guitar on, he like kind of does this forward shoulder thing. And dude, yeah, like we used to like, on the road or like wherever we'd give each other like back rubs and crack each other's backs.
Call it what it is. We massage each other.
Is that a gravity table behind you?
It is. That is a gravity table. Yeah.
Is that for your back and for your shoulder and stuff? Is that what that's for?
Literally.
Oh yeah, I want to get one of those. Yeah, like I said,
his is better than mine. His has like the pressure point thing on it.
Oh, you guys both have them?
Yes. So that's one of the issues
people do now.
Moving. Yeah, it's like what the hip kids are doing. So we just wanted to be part of the hip kids. And get immersion tables. It's just about, can you hit the bong when you're upside down off the ground?
Gravity bong.
Now I definitely know what we're doing when we get off. We gotta
right.
Anti-gravity bong.
That's what's taking so long with moving in with each other again. We're trying to figure out what to do with both immersion tables.
Like, I don't know, man. I like mine more.
Well, see if you can build some sort of a monstrosity with the 2 of them. Maybe you can, who knows?
Maybe our next interview, dude, we're going to be upside down.
Yeah.
It's going to be like an OK Go video. It's going to be insane.
Yes.
We actually already like self-identify as vampires. So
that is true.
When we start, it'll be great.
That'll be perfect. That is true.
That's great. Well, shit, I don't know how we ended up talking about like hereditary diseases and death and all
stuff, though,
stuff. But that's the good stuff. You never know what you're gonna end up. See ya. That's Mr.
Yeah. Our animals are like, love me, and then I'm done with you.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Story of my life.
I'm gonna end the Alzheimer's thing with Splenda, Sweet and Low, all that stuff. Stay away from it.
I don't do any of that bullshit.
Wonderful. Yeah, because there's
if it says
studies about that.
Aspartame or sucralose, Alzheimer's.
If there's some like weird shit that I can't pronounce, like what the fuck do I want to eat that for?
That's what I'm saying. Like all those like
the nasty preservative or chemical.
like flavored water, like the little Nestle, like little like, oh, grape flavored water and orange flavor, and then you look at the ingredients and it's like 32 things and none of them is orange.
I thought this was just orange water.
Right. It's like I thought it was oranges and water. It's like no.
Yeah, no. Eat an orange. Drink a glass
Yeah,
of water.
take a bite of an orange and sip of water and quit bitching.
Yeah. Squeeze a lemon into some water. It'll be great.
Yeah.
Well, fellas, you guys are fucking great. I didn't even, I never even paid you a single compliment. I listened to your record all week, and with everything that you have that's on Spotify, and I really, really, really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
You guys are fucking great. Yeah, if I was as good as you guys when I was your age, I feel like, who knows? Who knows?
Well, his age is different from my age. I'm 23.
Right, old man over here, right?
Yeah, I'm rounding the corner. It's time to make some moves.
Yeah,
now or never.
Sure.
No, but we really do appreciate you saying that, man, because we know that you don't have to, and we appreciate you taking the time even to interview us. And it really does mean a lot. And it's awesome kind of talking to a fellow musician and someone that grew up in the time period where we wish we were alive. So
I'd do anything, man. I'd do anything to freaking be growing up in the 80s.
Same shit, different. It's just whatever. I think same.
There's no iPhones.
That's my biggest thing. Like no phones. Like, how did you guys make plans?
Well, you had to fucking play. Like, there wasn't a lot of spontaneity. There was like, you had a tight crew. You hung with your friends, and like you would have a meetup place.
And if you weren't there at like 7:15 at White
Later Alligator, yeah, man.
Your Friday night was done, right?
See,
then you drive around town until you ran into someone and be like, well, yo, where's the party at? And they'd be like, oh, up the mountain, I grew up in this like little logging town. So we had like, there was like just different bonfire spots where we would party.
Wow.
They all had very literal names.
You grew up in the sacred time where like when you got to someone's house, you would like open your car door and get out of your car and go all the way to the front door and like knock on the door. Like, I've never done that, I don't think. I pull up to them like, yo, I'm here. That's it.
Or just like pull up and
yeah. Right. Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, those sorts of things change. There was no maps, you didn't have like GPS.
That's so fucking
you had a fucking map that you unfolded.
A real map. Yeah.
Like when all my first tours that I ever did, we had a Thomas guide. And I don't know if you guys know what a Thomas guide is, but a Thomas guide is like a thick ass book. It's like an atlas, but for
for like states, and it's got like it's in on various areas of like all the 50 states.
Right. So, and it'll like zoom in on a certain place. So you're like, all right, this is the way we get over here and do this. It's like, it's like an encyclopedic map breakdown of different regions. That's how we toured. We just had like a fucking suitcase full of maps. Could you imagine rolling into New York with a map?
Or a suitcase full of them?
Literally.
It is messed up. It's like, break out the suitcase and get the BQE map.
Right. Yeah. It's like, all right, here's Manhattan.
Right.
Yeah. Well, yeah, once you're in Manhattan, it's a piece of cake. But like getting in and out, I still use GPS, man. I've driven in and out of the city 500 times, still use the GPS just in case.
Right. Yeah. Well, our tours now are live stream tours. So it's at least,
there you go.
No matter.
All virtual. Everything is virtual. And we're actually investing high key in some 3D technology that will propel ourselves into your actual living room. So if you're
South of Eden 2021.
Be like some Star Wars shit. Nice. Good. I love it. Well, if you guys ever feel, I don't know if you have seen the other thing that I do, but I make these little like quarantine videos. If you guys ever want to be in a quarantine video, you just say the word
Please.
Dude,
Absolutely.
we're 100% down. Is that what you were telling me about?
Is that because when I was looking you guys up, like you have your podcast episodes,
Yep.
but then I was on the website and I was seeing a lot of the visual episodes where you sit in person, like Vivian Campbell like is there and like has a guitar, you know what I mean, like all, and so
Which is awesome. By
yeah,
the way.
I was
So
like
cool.
that'd be so cool to do.
Well, so before when I lived in the city, that's how it started. People would come over to my house. We'd sit on my couch in front of my record collection. We'd play to a backing track, play a bit of a song and then have a conversation. And my original vision for Couch Riffs was that it was like a 10-minute talk show episode. And then I moved upstate and I was like, well, shit, what am I going to do now? So then I just started doing a podcast, and then 2020 happened. And now, I don't get on a couch with anyone except for my wife and my dogs. Fuck that. So,
so what's the quarantine video?
the quarantine videos are like, if you go and look, there's,
Yeah, I will.
I've had a bunch of folks on, but they're basically like super groups, real drums, tracked, multi-tracked, and then everyone else, like, I had Ronnie from the Killers play drums. I've had JP from Clutch.
Very cool. And that's awesome. So like basically like do a song together kind of a thing.
Yeah, man.
So,
Yeah, it's fun. I'm actually
Yeah.
building a Van Halen song right now. It's all fully staffed, but dude, he made it okay to have one of those fucking Steinbergers. I mean, I wanted a trans trim.
Yeah, dude.
I never saw them with Roth. I saw them on Monsters of Rock.
That's crazy.
See, I did not understand the David Lee Roth thing for a long time. When I first met him, that was the first. So 4 years ago, I found out who Van Halen was.
He got into Van Hagar.
And I immediately got into Van Hagar. I was like, I don't like this babbling bullshit. I'm
But
like,
he's pretty
fuck,
funny. It's goofy, but it's killer.
Right. Well, yeah, now I know it's killer. I did not think that before. I was like, this is the dumbest shit ever. Listen to this guy sing and listen to this other guy like do stupid disco stuff. Like what's the comparison? And then I heard Take Your Whiskey Home.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Take Your Whiskey Home. Romeo Delight. That whole album is what got me into David Lee Roth. And then every original Van Halen, like now to me, they're equal. Like the two
What was your
versions of
entry point? What was
Van Hagar?
Yeah.
Late. It was Judgment Day and Pound Cake off of Fuck, right?
Yeah, I think it was probably showing you the Right Here, Right Now video.
Yeah, it was live performances too, and that's what was huge about it. And When It's Love. Honestly, that's the song that made me
you were obsessed with that for a minute.
Yeah, that's the song that made me keep listening to Van Halen all the time. I would just hear the freaking, like, it was all about the beat and the singing, right? That just I just thought that was
that's like a crossover hit. Like that's a rock song, but it's like that could have been anyone could have done that song.
And that's the thing and Rush gets a lot of the same flack I feel like that Van Halen does, especially like Van Hagar does, because now looking back, like the whole key 80s synth thing, like, okay, maybe sounds a little dated, but look at, like, here's two examples, like bands like Van Halen and Rush expanded their sound for the times and tried to say, like, okay, like, how can we grow into this and still be us? Like, but then look at a band like AC/DC where the 80s were not kind to them. Now, what's more badass? I don't know.
I mean,
like,
look.
On a touring scale, like, of course, AC/DC fucking killed it all throughout the 80s and stuff. But, like, after back...
I don't mind any of their 80s records. Like, the first record that I bought was For Those About to... Well, I bought Destroyer, but I bought on cassette For Those About to Rock. That was my first AC/DC album that I bought. I had, like, cassettes that I recorded from my uncle and a notebook of all the lyrics. I made...
Are you a Bon Scott guy, or are you just Brian Johnson all the way?
I'm an AC/DC fan, but Bon Scott.
That's all.
What's that?
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I mean, I love
I
both
mean-
their voices.
I made Play-Doh action figures of AC/DC when I was for real. I'll send you a picture of it. It's stupid, but you can totally tell it's AC/DC. But I was in like, I was like third grade or something.
That's so cool, man. Yeah, that is awesome. Tommy loved building things like that. Tommy built drum sets, like Ginger Baker's drum set or John Bonham's drum set or whatever it was.
But I was into all that shit. Fly on the Wall, Flick of the Switch.
They're good.
all
Yeah.
that-
Oh, dude, Flick of the Switch. That was like one of the like underrated, like Guns for Hire, and oh, dude, those are some good songs. Like even
What's Big Gun off of?
that was off of the.
Razor?
That was not on an album.
Later.
That was on a soundtrack for a Schwarzenegger movie.
Oh, Big Gun was?
In between. That's what they were. That's the first song they recorded with Rick Rubin after
Okay.
the Thunderstruck album.
Yes. Okay.
That's probably like Last Action Hero or some shit like that.
It was Last Action Hero.
Yep.
Yeah. Because when you look when you go to the music video, Arnold Schwarzenegger is carrying Angus Young on his shoulders in the music video.
Dude, what?
It's awesome.
Gotta check that out, man.
No, I have an Angus tattoo. Like I have a portrait of Angus.
Yeah.
Is it on your ass or can we see it?
No, it's on my leg. It's terrible. I got it for free at backstage at a festival. Somewhere in Europe. I don't even know where I was.
Was it an AC/DC? Like, was AC/DC on the fest?
No, they were not. It was like, it's terrible. And the guy that tattooed me didn't speak English. He was Eastern European, and he would only do a full color portrait. And I was like, no, black and gray. And he's like, no. So I was like, fuck it, it's free. So
artists.
I was like, okay, fine, whatever. What the fuck do I care?
He's like, bro, this is a free tattoo. I can only draw this the one way.
Yeah, no, for real. Look at this shit. It's really bad.
That is not really
That's
bad.
not really bad.
That looks great.
You can't tell because, you can't tell.
The camera fidelity, we'll call it. But that looks great on camera, man.
Yeah, but I sat for like 2.5 hours while I don't know if either of you guys have any tattoos, but this is the first 20 minutes of getting a tattoo is fucking terrible. And then it becomes fine. And then after an hour and a half, it gets terrible again because your endorphins start wearing off. And then it also really swells up, right?
Yeah.
So he tattooed me for like 2.5 hours, and then it was like, fuck, I gotta go play, So
Oh, you were playing.
You were playing the festival?
I was playing the festival, dude.
Oh, my goodness.
Holy fuck, dude.
Yeah.
You got a tattoo before a gig?
No, so he wrapped me up. Then I went up, we did our hour, and then I went back and he finished, and it was fucking awful. It was the worst tattoo experience I've ever.
Yeah, I would never want to get a tattoo after a fuck. That's like the last thing I would like be thinking of. Like, maybe tomorrow.
Yeah, right.
I mean, you get pretty bored on tour. You're like, fuck, what am I gonna do now? And yeah.
I was just gonna say like that. Like, I don't have any tattoos, but I feel like if I get one, it's gonna be a story like that. It's gonna be like spur of the moment. Complete, like,
High as fuck, just like, dude,
Yeah.
you know what? This sounds like a good
it's
idea.
like, this is perfect. This is happening.
Yeah, I have a lot of stupid tattoos. A lot of spontaneous tattoos.
Yeah,
Even
I
the
kinda
ones that don't look spontaneous are spontaneous mostly.
That is so cool. I think I've decided that I'm gonna wait until I'm older to get tattoos because literally mostly because I haven't thought of a good enough tattoo to permanently put on myself. And the other reason being that James Hetfield, I don't know if you've seen his tattoos, but he waited until he was, I don't know if it was on purpose or not, but he waited forever. Like, he was in his 40s before he got his first tattoo. His tattoos are freaking immaculate. I mean, just crazy looking tattoos. And I'm like, wow, that's, very clearly you had the money to spend on the tattoo.
Right.
You got $50.
I want to get a Star Wars sleeve, but I can't afford it.
Just straight up sleeve.
That's what I'm saying. I don't want I want Han Solo here. I want Luke Skywalker there. I want Darth Vader there. I want, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, I can't just
Sure.
can't pick one.
Sure.
You should just get an arm. Yeah, you know, do you guys know what Barrel of Monkeys is?
Barrel of Monkeys, yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Enlighten me.
and they're like these little plastic monkeys, and they're all
Oh,
doing this, and you connect them, and you try and you're right. And
Toy Story.
for a while, I wanted to get a barrel of monkeys around, you know, like people get armbands or leg bands or whatever. I wanted to get a barrel of monkeys, but you could get the Star Wars guys as barrel of monkeys.
The clones or all the Star Wars guys? Dude, no, you're talking, you could either do the clones all doing the barrel monkeys thing and like, or you could do what if it was like I think I don't know if what you meant was like Vader, Luke Skywalker, like all of them, like
Chain link on
But like not portrait style, like figure style, like classic Star Wars figure style.
Yeah, that would actually be kind of cool.
That is so fucking cool. That's actually an awesome first tattoo idea. Write it down.
How amazing is it that Star Wars has persisted? Because to put this in perspective, I saw the first Star Wars movie in the theater.
Yeah, that also
Fucking 12 times, you know, as a kid.
The first Star Wars, like
the first Star Wars movie. I was 7 when it came out. 6.
wow.
You realize this man? He's like he lived my dream.
Wow.
He saw the original Star Wars movies and he saw Van Halen Monsters of Rock.
Should be.
But no, I mean like yeah, you're getting into dangerous territory because we can talk about Star Wars for probably 27 hours straight without
Are you
like
guys
stopping.
both Star Wars fanatics?
They made me a fanatic. I had only seen episodes 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Like literally episodes 2 and 3.
Yeah,
Clone
not
Wars.
Empire and Jedi. No,
Nope.
he saw Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith.
And I thought it was phenomenal. So good. Masterpieces.
Which
hold on. Let me finish. Because he, like every original Star Wars fan that was there from the get-go, believes in the original 3, the next 3, and so forth. Whereas I think after watching the originals with them and really obsessing over them, I completely understand why that should be watched that way, but I think it's a very cool story if you watch it 1 through 6, right? Anybody that was going to listen to our music is now not going to fucking listen to our music.
You basically just said we love Creed.
No, look,
You do love Creed. Don't even talk.
I've eased up on 2 and 3. 1 was pretty rough. I mean,
The first part of 1
For some reason,
so long.
okay, and I know why, because I looked into it. I like The Phantom Menace more than any other prequel movie. And it's because The Phantom Menace actually, even for all the bad CGI and Jar Jar Binks and blah, 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 has the most practical effects in it than any other Star Wars movie, including the originals.
I think that 3 is pretty dark, and I like the origin story behind Vader there. You know, even if only for that payoff scene at the end where the helmet goes on him, it's like, fuck, that's heavy. It's not nearly as cool as the Rogue One end.
I just finished it. Just
For the first time?
For the first time. Well, technically the second time. We watched it when it came out in theaters, but I'm not good at watching movies in theaters because I fall asleep. I pay $12.50 to take a nap. Yeah, exactly. I get completely stoned, and then pay $12.50 to.
We watched the Mandalorian finale together, though. That was
We did watch the
crazy.
Mandalorian.
That shit was hot.
What
was better? Was Mandalorian's ending or Rogue One's ending better?
I mean, they both lead into amazing things. I mean, Rogue One ends with the opening of episode 4, like A New Hope, and you're like, oh shit, this is amazing. Whoa. And you gotta have to imagine, for a kid like me, like I was almost, as an adult, as I watched Rogue One in the theater, I was almost in tears. I was like, holy shit, I did not see
they made
this.
the ships like the Greys
See
were like
this coming.
perfect, and it came out after The Force Awakens came out. So like then to watch Rogue One, you're like, this is it. This looks like the original trilogy.
Right. Yeah, no, it's better. I mean, you know, the last three movies.
You know what's funny is there's a correlation in the two things that Justin loves most in life. It's Van Halen and Star Wars, right? The two of these things started out so freaking cool and
They both
unbelievable.
peaked in 1982.
Exactly right. Exactly freaking right. And they both peaked early on, and then they just kept trying to grasp at straws. Just, what are we gonna do? Let's try this singer.
There's a really cool still from the making of the Panama music video. I think it was the Panama, yeah, where Dave's driving around on the motorcycle or whatever. There's a still from the making of that music video where Eddie Van Halen, they're just in between takes, and he's standing on like the Sunset Strip, and in the background you can see a promotional billboard for Return of the Jedi, and it's just like it's everything I love in one picture.
Right.
What about your first tattoo that's actually going to be the Darth Vader thing holding the Van Halen world?
Oh, have you seen that yet? Darth Vader with the 50/50 logo thing. Have you seen this?
No, but I'm planning on lampooning that for my video because I make an album cover, you know.
Oh, you do? Oh, you make like your own album cover thing?
I make an album cover, yeah. So I want to figure out how to turn the V and the H into a C and an R so that it looks like Couch Riffs and it's going around the globe. And then the Atlas, I'll just, you know, cut a picture of my fucking stupid fat face.
Right, yeah. Your face on like Schwarzenegger or something, yeah.
Yeah. And then there you go. Boom.
That's very cool.
But no, that's
awesome.
That's hot. Vader holding, that already exists?
Yeah, pull it up.
Yeah.
Pull it
It's
up.
What are the letters? Is it S and R, like, or is S and W, like
BV
Star Wars?
for Darth Vader. It's literally like that, like when they're about to fight on Bespin is like the background, and Vader's holding, it's like the Atlas, but he's holding the Death Star, and it's got DV.
It's
here it is. I got it.
Somebody made it.
I'm gonna look it up right now. Images, Darth Vader, Van Halen.
Oh yeah, because you're not gonna be able to see it on this.
I see this like classic 1984 looking thing, Van Vader.
You're looking for
so
like
here,
the
yeah,
5150 logo.
Man, I wish this was clear. This is
Mhm.
Can you see that? If you look on this, it's kind of
5150. This is just Van Halen. Come on, motherfuckers.
It's on the Instagram account. Oh no, it's the hashtag Van Halen. It's gonna be really hard to find. It's on
this Darth Vader 5150. Oh, there it is. Oh, that's amazing.
You see,
That's a good tattoo, right? I mean,
I love the stare, like the Empire stairs. He's like,
yeah.
Oh, that's so good.
freaking awesome. Freaking
Dude.
awesome.
What is this? You can buy this as a poster? Oh, it's a shirt. These deals are gone forever. And what? 24. Wait a minute. This is a sham. I searched for it and it's like when I push search, like that's a rip off right there. That's a scam.
Yeah. Maybe don't. Yeah.
Live on air. Mike gets ripped off.
Yeah, no shit, right? Shit, you guys. I gotta walk my dogs.
Dude, this was such
you.
a pleasure. This was so much fun. I hope that everybody that watches this is like intrigued by these people that know so much about the Middle East and Alzheimer's, and they're like, "Oh, they play music too? What?
Whoa!
You guys play music? Okay, I guess we'll listen."
What? They like Van Halen and Star Wars?
Whoa!
It's the most interesting.
I want to
people
hang out
ever.
with those guys.
Let me ask you this: you guys have a 5-foot bong in your house?
5 foot? No.
No.
I'm gonna guess you do.
I mean, I don't do anything anymore. Yeah, my wife's got me on like fucking kale salad, you know. But Back when I was your age, we were all about the 5-foot bongs, man.
Now we've hit 5-foot ball. But we
Yeah,
haven't.
you got to stand up on a chair or like way back to make it happen. But this you could probably work the gravity table into it. You can hit it while you're up, flip it over, and then let it out. Maybe there'd be some polar magnetic transference.
No, man, listen, dude, you gotta hit down and then you flip upside down. The smoke, man, it goes up into your feet.
That's
dude.
it, bro.
Man, it's seriously though a pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time and having us on here, man. And anybody that's listening, if you guys want to follow us at South of Eden Band anywhere that you listen to music or use social media, seriously, Mike, thank you for taking the time.
I'll talk about talk about your socials up at the top when I intro everything. So
sick, man. Awesome.
You guys,
Thank you. Let us know, man. We'd love to do a freaking another one. Do the quarantine.
I'll send you a couple links. I'll send you some video links in that email chain.
Perfect.
I released one today with Charlie Starr from Blackberry Smoke.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very cool.
And Keith Nelson from Buck Cherry. We did Why Can't I Be When Will I Be Loved by the Everly Brothers. It's pretty hot.
Okay.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. So is this all on your website?
Yeah, you go there. I mean, that I haven't updated and put the new one on there yet, but yeah. In a couple of weeks, I have a Smashing Pumpkins one coming too.
Sick. Okay, we'll be watching you on our TV then. Thank you so much, man.
Thanks.
Fellas, have a great night.
You too, man. Great meeting you.
Thank you,
Bye.
bro.